طيب, so we've been through the if I'm not mistaken, we've been through the translation and explanation of the surah. We now need to tackle the Arabic. Okay. So if you look at the word al-qari'ah, as you can see from the screen, it's ism and it's in halatu raf, marfu'. Why would you say it's in halatu raf?
تضامع أتئين مولانا.
You are 100% right. That's not at all what I meant.
معك مولانا.
No, you don't need to say maaf. It's funny because the question is ambiguous. So, like I said,
Is it because it's the mubtada, Maulana?
That's a good guess. Anybody else? Anyone else? Okay. So we have one guess, which is mubtada. The word in all probability, I don't have a confirmation now. I thought I could open it from here, but I can't. I'm gonna see if I can open it from a different place. There we go. Oh, sure. Yes, this is Corpus Quran. It's a good resource. Alhamdulillah. Sorry about that. I'm struggling with the sniffles this morning. Brother Tawfiq, not quite there's no fi'al, so it's not quite a fa'al, but have a look at this ayah, yeah? This is the second ayah. Al-Qari'ah, Mal-Qari'ah. So, yeah, you have a version of explaining what's happening here. I'm saying it's a version because it's a bit different to how I would normally lay it out. But anyway, Al-Qari'ah, what does it say at the bottom?
خبر.
Khabar. So if that's the khabar, then where's the mubtada?
Is it implied? It's not like explicit?
Basically, yes, it's implied in we say it a bit differently in Arabic. We say it's mahdhuf. The mubtada is mahdhuf, it's hidden. So al-qari'ah. So if you look at the terms mubtada and khabar, right? Mubtada is your subject and your khabar is your predicate. It's your news. Your khabar tells you something. It gives you khabar, it gives you news. In this case, it would be something like hiya al-qari'ah, right? It is the qari'ah. It is the striking calamity. It is the knocker. You don't need to say that when you translate it. You don't even need to sort of put it in there to understand it. It's enough to just say al-qari'ah because the language works like that. But for the purposes of i'rab or analyses, you would analyze it like this, right? It is a khabar for a mubtada that is mahdhuf. And you can basically see it in the second ayah. The second ayah gives you a different variation of the same thing. Mal qari'ah. So yeah, the ma would be your mubtada in the second ayah. And again, al qari'ah would be your khabar. So you could even look at it as the repeat. You could think of it as the first ayah being mal qari'ah, mal qari'ah. What is the striking calamity? What is the striking calamity? Alternatively, you could look at the first ayah being somewhat of an answer for the second ayah as well. Brother Irshad, do we know what the mubtada is even though it is hidden? Um, no, we don't know what it is exactly. Like it could be perhaps a variation of 1, 2, 3 words. It's either going to be here or it's going to be ma, right? Or it's going to be something like hada. It's not like there's a specific word outside of these that it's going to be. Um, yeah, I think I know what you mean. We don't know exactly what the word is, and it doesn't also have any impact on the meaning. We just know that the word in its own sort of incomplete, but it's okay that it's incomplete because as you said, it's implied, so that's sufficient. But when we need to offer a mubtada, then you know how to offer it. So it is the striking calamity, or what is the striking calamity, etc. This is how you can understand it. So al-qari'ah, mal-qari'ah, mubtada khabar. What was the other thing that I wanted to say? Oh yes, so part of the reason why this verse is so striking is because the mubtada is mahdhuf. We don't use this type of expression in everyday speech. You don't go around saying the earthquake, you know? You don't just walk into a room and say the earthquake, unless what? Unless there's a very serious situation and there's no time to still explain, you know? So, for example, if there is an earthquake, people don't say, listen up, everybody, there's an earthquake, you know? The moment an earthquake starts, people are going to scream, they're going to shout. If somebody's going to say anything, they're going to just shout out, earthquake. Does that make sense? Because that's
Yes, Maulana.
yeah, it's going to be effective in conveying the message. All they need at that moment is the khabar. They just need the information. They just need to know what's going on. They don't need you to say, it is an earthquake, you know? Or they don't need to say like, they don't need to give you a subject. They don't need to give you anything to precede the information of earthquake. It's like fire, right? People don't say, ladies and gentlemen, there is a fire, run. They would just say fire, you know? So it's the same type of idea. And when this expression is used like that, it conveys a sense of urgency, it conveys a sense of calamity. And there are many examples like this in the Quran. I'm trying to think of one off the cuff now. Maybe you can think of one with me. Think of another one example where this sort of one word type of thing is used. Al-Haqqa, excellent. Al-Haqqa, Mal-Haqqa, wa ma adraka Mal-Haqqa. Very similar type of construction. Al-Qari'ah, Mal-Qari'ah, wa ma adraka Mal-Qari'ah. Very, very similar. So as far as i'rab is concerned, it's pretty straightforward, but it's important for me really that you can see how the i'rab, the Quran is just amazing, isn't it? I mean, like, we're talking about grammatical analysis, but at the same time, we're finding how the grammatical analysis plays a role in the meaning that is ascertained from the ayah. There's rhetoric here, there's balagha, in the way that it's conveyed. It's not just what is conveyed, but a large segment of the Quran is about how it is conveyed over and above what is said. And this is unfortunately what people lose when they only engage with the Quran from translation. If you only engage with the Quran from translation, this is what you lose. You still get what is said, at least some of its nuances, but you don't get how it is said. Right? You don't get a feel for the expression of the language when you don't analyze the Arabic in this sense. And that's why it's important. It's not, as students of Arabic, you may just feel at times that the objective is getting as much vocabulary as possible. The objective is being able to translate the ayah, and that's it. But I want you to think of it beyond that. I want you to think of it in terms of the more comfortable you are with the Arabic itself, the better your appreciation of the ayat will be. Like, look, I saw you just covered the Mazid fee, right? If you look at a word like mustaqim, you can get the word consistency from a dictionary. You can get the word consistency or straight from tafsir, etc., translation. But you're not going to get the explanation that mustaqim, the etymology of the word is qama, yaqumu, which means to stand, that it's on the 10th bab, which means to seek something, to seek to stand. So it's not just consistency, as I think it's with this cross where I explained before, like consistency is a tall order, right? To be upright constantly is a tall order. But if you understand that it's on the 10th bab, then you know that, wait, on the 10th bab, it means to seek to be upright. It's not to be upright. It's to seek to be upright. Just like istinja is to seek to clean. It's the act of cleaning. It's not being clean. You with me? So therefore, your appreciation of what istiqamah is changes. It's not that I need to be upright all the time. It's that I need to try to be upright all the time. I need to seek to be upright all the time. And that's a very different order than to be upright all the time. And in this way, your appreciation of the Arabic language, the more you have, the deeper your appreciation is, the more nuances of meaning you pick up. Because often the miracle is not in what is being said, but in how it is being said. Okay. Naam, it is indeed. Just I didn't see the name there. Saida. Absolutely. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْقَارِعَةُ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْقَارِعَةُ. What can possibly make you know? So we got the meaning. Let's look at the Arabic. وَمَا and what. So this is again your mubtada. That's waw al-atf. Your mubtada is ma. Adraka. Adraka. Who wants to take a shot at this? I mean, most of the information is on the screen, but I'd like you to tell me what type of word is this? What do you do with it? Just take a shot. Even if you're thinking, I'm probably going to be wrong or something, just take a shot. I know somebody's going to be brave enough.
Assalamu alaikum. I've had a bit more coffee, so maybe not such a silly answer. Adara is that a verb on the fourth verb. Kaf is a pronoun and making it a maf'ulun bi.
Excellent. Perfect. Perfect. Adra yudri. Daraya means to know, right? How do you say I don't know in Arabic for interest sake? Anyone? How do you say I don't know? It's kind of ironic because if you don't know, then you're supposed to be able to say I don't know.
لا أدري.
There we go. La adri. I don't know. Okay. So that's the word we're looking at here. Adara is on the fourth bab, as she said. Adaraka. That's your. Okay. This is an important one, right? Often students neglect this, but the moment you have a pronoun attached to a word, if you know what type of word it's attached to, you know what the pronoun is. When a pronoun is attached to a verb, it is going to be your maf'ul. When a pronoun is attached to a harf, it is going to be majroor.
اسمه مجرور. اسمه
That's right. And when a pronoun is attached to an ism,
مضاف إليه.
excellent. So if you know that, that's going to save you a lot of headaches. You don't have to figure it out every time. Here you have a pronoun attached to a fi'al. Adaraka, make you know. So, okay, the make you know part, because the word adara is on the fourth bab, it's transitive. Okay, what can make you know? It's not like la adri, I don't know. This is adara yudri, which means make you know. So wama and what adraka can make you know. Where is the fa'il? Where is the fa'il? It's literally written on the screen, but it's fine. I'm still going to ask because I need you to say it either out loud to yourself or to us, but you need to express it as much as you can. So where's the fa'il?
It's inside.
Right. So always follow the steps, right? You look on top, don't see it there. You look to the left, you don't see it there, because it's not going to be the second word, al-qariya wa ma adraka mal qariya. It's not that qariya over there. So you look inside, and inside you find damir mustatir taqdiruhu huwa. What can make you know? What can make you know? That can make you know it. Huwa. What can make you know? And then again, you have the same expression like we did in the first and second ayah. Mal qari'ah. What can make you know what the qari'ah is? So again, separate sentence. Mubtada khabar. Any questions on this so far? Anything that you want me to reiterate or clarify and explain again? Okay. وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث. Let's go through this a bit quicker. I'm not going to show you everything on the screen because I would like you to interact a bit. Would rather try to think a bit more before we give you the answers. Inshallah, let's try this. Yawma. Anyone? How would you analyze yawma?
On that day.
That's a good translation. Now give me the Arabic analysis. What hal is it in? Now, I must also say at this point, I'm not sure if you've already learned this concept, but it's simple enough for me to just throw it in there, so it's fine. What hal is yawma in?
Nas?
Nasb, yes,
Nasb,
excellent. Now, why? Why is it in halatun nasb?
Is it because of its the zaman?
Excellent, good. So, when you have a single word indicating time or a single word indicating place, and it's in halatun nasb, then it's dharf, right? ظرف zaman for time, ظرف makan for place. So the day, yakunu, when will be, the day when will be, الناس, the day when the people will be. So now you have a expression here, a uh, construction here. What is this? You have yakunu, which is a form of kana. Kana yakunu. So when you have kana, you look for the ism of kana and at times the khabar of kana. And the ism of kana is always in hala to what?
النسب مولانا.
A hala to the ism of kana. I asked about the ism of kana.
Raf.
The ism of kana is always in hala to raf. The khabar of kana is always in hala to nasb. As opposed to the inna. Okay? These are also two things that if you learn them, you make life easier for yourself because it's very ubiquitous in Arabic. Kana and inna. And then kana has sisters and inna has sisters, and the rules apply to all the sisters. So with kana, it's raf, nasb, and with inna, it's nasb, raf. Usually the best way to learn that, in my opinion, is through an example. So what was the example we came across earlier on in the other class? I can't think of it now. There was an example in Surah Ahqaf. Let me see if I can see it here quickly. Yeah, here we go. Inna wa'adallahi haqqun. Inna wa'adallahi haqqun. Inna wa'adallah. So that's your nasb. Inna wa'adallahi, promise of Allah, haqqun is true. So that's an example of inna. Kana is different. Right? Kana is the opposite. Kana you have yakunu nasu. So anyway, that's I'm not going to get into that too much. But if you learn these concepts, if you learn the ism and khabar of kana and the ism and khabar of inna, along with what are the sisters of kana, what are the sisters of inna, it's a hack to learn so much because this is repeated so frequently that you won't have to scratch your head every time it comes up. So do dedicate some time to just, an example and memorizing the example, solidifying it. It will make your life super, super simple. Then one of the students mentioned something here. Let me just get to it quickly. Brother Irshad sent a link for Kana and its sisters. Excellent, shukran. But again, I just want to caution you, right? If you didn't learn this before, and I'm teaching you a concept, I ask firstly, maaf, because I don't know exactly what you're covering in the other classes yet. Don't stress, right? Take the information I give you and just park it somewhere until you get all the theory from your teacher who's going to teach you that specific concept. Just keep it, on the side there. So, for example, Sister Tawhida mentioned that we didn't do this concept, but she had notes from what I said last week. Excellent. That's exactly what you should do. So you have this little note that you made of something that you learned, just like by the way. And then eventually when you learn the full concept with theory and everything in class formally, you'll be on a good footing, because then you've already seen the concept in practice. You've already seen the concept um, in the Quran, and you've got an example. So what I'm saying is, again, shukran, Brother Irshad, for sharing that link. But at this stage, I don't want you to get caught up in theory. So I haven't looked at the link, but if it gives you a whole lot of theory, then just put it on the side. My suggestion is to learn concepts like this, like kana and inna and so on, which are basically standard. After you learn all the theory, it comes down to one example. Inna wa'adallahi haqqun. That you can use as example. That you can use as an example for inna, and you can always go back to the example and you can look at it. Okay, inna wa'adallahi. So that's the ism of inna is in halatun nasb, and there you go. So that's how I suggest you look at that. And then with dharf, it was such a simple example, or rather such a simple concept, that without giving you any formalized theory about it, I could show you, okay, you have a single word, it indicates time or it indicates space, and it's in halatun nasb. That is analyzed as a dharf. And it's either going to be makan or it's going to be zaman. And that's enough information as far as analysis is concerned. You don't need to know much more than that. When you do get the theory, alhamdulillah, then you've covered the theory, in some detail. But this is about as much as you really need to know in practice. So that's how I'd like you to approach it. Don't let the information overwhelm you. If I tell you something now and it's like, oh, but we never did that, and how do I, just make a note on the side that that's something we've covered, or that's something we've not covered, and your notes that you make like this could be sufficient. Type. So يوم يكون الناس كالفراش. Oh, this is a difficult one. This is a difficult one. Who can analyze this for me? كالفراش.
Isn't it حرف شعر اسمه مجهول?
Sharon.
Yes, I like the way you answered that, because I caused you so much doubt now. You're like,
Yes, well, because that's usually the easy one.
it's like, isn't it? Yes, it is. حرف الجر اسم مجرور كالفراشي. And then الفراش المبثوث together. الفراش المبثوث. What is
موصوف
that?
صفة.
موصوف صفة. Excellent. So there you go. Everything you need to know. This is in Corpus Quran, so you get it nicely laid out like that. طيب. And yeah, you can see the details further. ظرف زمان منسوب. منسوب is another word saying حالة النصب. يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث. Okay, next one. وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش. Now we have a chance to practice what we just learned. واو العطف. تكون. تكون is another form of kana. What are all the forms of kana? Not the sisters of kana, that's separate. The forms of kana. It's kana, kana, kanu, kanat, etc. Basically, right? So kana follows the same pattern as a verb. It technically is a verb. It's just analyzed differently. So if it's kana yakunu, and then similarly the mudari will carry on. Yakunu, yakunani, yakununa, takunu. And there you have it. So again, we ask the question, where's the ism of kana? The ism of kana is always in halatu raf. You look for it in the same way that you would look for the fa'il of a verb. You look for it in the same way you would look for the fa'il of the verb. So, takunu, it's not on top. I go to the left. Takunu al-jibalu. There's the word jibal. It's in halatu raf. This is the khabar of kana. So, watakunu al-jibal. So, why is takunu in this form? Why is it not yakunu as in the previous ayah? Why is it in the form of takunu? Quite simply, it is what?
It's feminine.
It's the feminine. Because the mountains, al-jibalu, is what?
Animate. It's
It's
animate
feminine.
being. It's inanimate, so
Noun.
it gets in feminine.
That's right. It's jam غير عاقل. It's the plural of a non. How do you translate the word? غير عاقل, a non-thinking thing.
Inanimate
Suppose.
thing.
Okay, yeah, inanimate. Inanimate is perfectly fine. وتكون الجبال, and the mountains are كالعهن. There's your jar majroor again. I'm not going to ask you that one again. jar ومجرور كالعهن, حرف جار اسم المجرور, and then again العهن المنفوش, like the previous ayah we had, كالفراش المبثوث. Here you have كالعهن المنفوش. This would be your موصوف and صفة. Of course, you can recognize this in a number of ways, but we were taught that your موصوف and صفة must agree in 4 things. What are they now again? Just for revision purpose.
Gend.
Chinned.
Gender, yes. Gender, encasing, number, and definiteness. Barakallahu fikum. So that's perfect. We can move on to the next one. فأما من ثقلت موازينه. فأما, fa is once again a حرف عطف. حرف عطف basically just means like a placeholder or like a capital letter. Often a word, a sentence will begin with a حرف عطف, like a wow. Wow, we just say wow al-atf. Fa al-atf or حرف عطف is adequate. فأما, so as for man thaqulat, the one who. So as for the one who, thaqulat is heavy. So thaqulat is basically a fi'al, and you would analyze it as a fi'al. So you look on top, don't see a fa'il there. You look to the left, you see mawazinu. So mawazinu is your fa'il of thaqulat. As for the one whose scales are heavy, the one whose scales are heavy. Mawazin is again jam ghayr aqil. It's the plural of a inanimate thing. So it's in the feminine form, and that's why thaqulat is in the feminine form. And the last word, mawazinuhu. Mawazinuhu is a ism, and you have a pronoun attached to an ism, and therefore this pronoun is what? Mudaf mudafin ilayh. So his scales. As to the one whose scales are thaqulat, heavy. Okay. So here is analyzing the letter fa as al-isti'nafiyya, al-fa'u isti'nafiyya, which is another way of expressing this type of harf. As I said earlier on, harfu atf, harf al-isti'naf. It's just beginning the sentence. There's no ramifications as far as i'rab is concerned. حرف التفصيل, okay, don't worry about that. That's a bit higher level for the word fa. It's talking about the function of amma, sort of giving tafsil, giving more explanation, but don't worry too much about that. Man, ismu shart, the one who. Ismu shart, again, don't worry too much about that. So just, the more complex stuff that requires too much explanation at this level, if I say don't worry about it, I'm not saying ignore it forever. I'm saying just ignore it for now, because I feel like at this stage it's going to be just a bit too much information. It's not critical information. It's not crucial information that's going to detract from your understanding at this stage. So just bank it. Just bank it on the side until you're more comfortable with the more ubiquitous, more frequently recurring concepts like thaqulat mawazinuhu. Okay, so if you've understood that there, we can move on to the next one. Are there any questions up until this point? Of any of this verse or the previous verses? If you have any questions, inshallah. I just lost track of time there. What time does this period end?
I think half past 10.
According to the schedule, 10:30.
Ah, goodness. The time goes so quick, subhanAllah. Well, at least for me. I think for you it must be like ages. Let me just have a look at the rest. Let me have a look at the rest of the ayat quickly. فهو في عيشة راضية. This is, I don't want to rush through it, but it's just a very simple. Let me just point this out for you quickly, and you tell me if it's something that you feel we should go over again. فهو, same as before, فا استئنافية أو فا حرف عطف. هو مبتدأ. هو في عيشة راضية. he في حرف جار. عيشة اسم مجرور. عيشة راضية موصوف صفة. Next one. وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية. Okay, you know what? It's very simple, but I still don't want to rush it. So I'm going to go through it next week, inshallah. It's very, very simple. It's actually so simple that we could just go through it and literally point out, okay, but I think I just want to take my time and allow you to see the concepts one by one, inshallah ta'ala. So we will leave that for next week, but we will conclude the surah next week, and then we start with Surah Al-Asr if time permits, otherwise thereafter. Idhnillah ta'ala. Any last questions before we?
Yes, Mulana, just maybe I missed
Bismillah.
it previously, but why is thakulat in the feminine form?
Okay. Because the word mawazin
Feminine plural.
is the plural of a inanimate thing. Plural of which word, by the way?
Mizan.
Mizan, yes.
Mizan.
Yeah.
Self-promote.
The plural of mizan. Mawazin. Is that clear now?
Yes, shukran.
Okay. This is the one that I used to joke with, which is very bad. I used to say that, if you're really big like I used to be, you get onto the scales and the scales show you that, hey, you're heavy. And then فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ, that means you're living in a very pleasant life. But no, this is referring to the day of Qiyamah, when your scales are heavy with good deeds, and then inshallah you'll be in عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ, in a good life. Okay, until next week, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. Take care. And do try to learn those concepts. They will help you tremendously. Make some time for them. For kana, for inna, and for dharf, zaman, makan. Those are 3 concepts. Again, like I said, I'm getting a feel for where you are at with your Arabic. I have a better sort of understanding every week when we interact. So I'll reiterate, if I teach you something new and I'm just brushing over it, that's fine. Just bank it, make a note. It may just be enough for now until you do get a formal lesson on that particular concept. And the best way to learn such concepts is through the example. The example will lead you through there, inshallah. طيب وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة
السلام
الله
عليكم.
Salam.